It is finally here. The most anticipated series, for me at least, in a very, very long time. The OKC Thunder, our defending champion, led by now just announced MVP, two-time MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, are going against the San Antonio Spurs, the DPOY, one of the runner-ups to MVP, and so on and so forth. Two 60-win teams seeing each other with a battle. Two teams with top 3 players in the world. Come on, man. This has got to be a classic. And I do want to say, if for whatever reason one of these two teams wins in 4 or wins in 5, my goodness. Hypothetically, if it is OKC winning in 4 or 5, again, gonna be one of the greatest individual runs for a team ever. And if it happens to be the Spurs winning in 4 or 5, everybody else in the league, all 29 of the teams, should be very, very afraid. Because if they are able to do that to our defending champion the first time they made the postseason, who knows how many more championships they could potentially win. There will be a lot of people that will tell you this is the NBA Finals, right? Whatever team comes out of this is going to squeak through, or the Eastern Conference team, whoever the hell that may be. And though I kind of feel that, I won't say it because I felt that way last year. If you've been watching the show for multiple seasons, you know that at the end of that Denver versus OKC game, I said that the OKC Thunder just won the NBA championship because those, in my mind, were the top 2 contenders of everybody that was left. And though that did end up happening, the Pacers were right there. The Pacers were 2 quarters away from changing history, right? So I don't want to just say that whoever wins this is going to kill the Eastern Conference team because, as we've seen, at least a few of those Eastern Conference teams are pretty damn talented and could potentially win the series. But these 2 teams are amazing. So I'll remind you that in the regular season, the San Antonio Spurs won 4 of the 5 matchups. Wembanyama will tell you that they basically dominated OKC, and that is the case. Some of these games are not close completely. One of the wins ended up being when OKC didn't play anybody, so maybe you want to say they were 3-1 when it all mattered. But, you know, some players are missing on both sides. So though I went back to watch a lot of these games and a lot of these matchups, I want to remind people that so much has changed since the times they played against each other that it can't be like, oh, the Spurs won in the regular season, so that therefore they're going to win in the postseason. And they could win in the postseason. Do not get me wrong. I believe this is like I'm like 55-45 OKC way. Like, that's how much respect I have for what the Spurs have been able to do. But I think it may have been the Christmas Day game where I personally came to the realization that the Spurs team could win it all. And they're like, Kenny, that's a bit late. They had been pretty good for 2.5 months at that point. And you're absolutely right. I like to look at the history of the league because I do believe that the history of the league can tell you about the future of the league. And let me explain. The San Antonio Spurs are a young team, and they're top 3 players, if you ask me. No disrespect to De'Aaron Fox, but their 3 most impactful players, at least in this postseason run, are all, 23, 22, 21 years old. And even the experienced guys, when it comes to how many years they've been in the league, don't have a ton of postseason experience. So we've seen teams before be led by a young player, and they could win 55, 60 games, and then we get to the postseason, we're like, this team needs to earn their stripes. This team needs a couple scars before they can eventually win the championship. Think about OKC from 2 years ago. Number 1 seed, they went against a guy in Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks, and that team won, and that was the first scar for OKC, and then boom, they have this experience. They go on to win a championship the next season. So until Christmas, even though I respected the hell out of what Ms. Johnson was doing, what Wembanyama was doing, and so on and so forth, I did look at them and say, they need some scars first. But that win on Christmas changed it. Well, I said, even with their lack of experience, they could still get it done. And I do think that maybe me looking through history is going to change when it comes to predicting the future because so many things have shifted over the last decade or so, from no jump shooting team can win a championship to no team with a star less than 27 years old can win it, but we just saw it happen with Shai, and we might see it here with Wemby. So again, it has its place when it comes to predicting it and everything, but it can't be the end all be all. And I think that leading up to that point, it was like, they young, they can't do it. Yeah, this team could definitely go out there and do it. So I'm going to talk about a couple points of contention that I'm looking for when it comes to the series. I will tell you right now, my overall prediction is Oklahoma City Thunder in 7. But like I said, I'm 55-45 with it, man. Both of these teams are that damn talented, and both of these teams are ready for the moment. But I'm going to give the slight edge to the defending champion. So here's what I'm really thinking about. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander versus Stephon Castle and the different coverages that they can throw at Shai. If you remember just last series, Anthony Edwards, who was dealing with some leg issues and so on, saw so many different things. They were throwing two at him, and, he was making right plays more times than not, but it did mess up his potential flow in the entirety of the series. He had a couple great quarters and one great game, but for the most part, the different coverages that the Spurs are able to throw at them is different. And I do think that, selling out to throw two at a superstar player can be a very dangerous game. You throw two at Luka, you throw two at a prime LeBron, you throw two at some of these really good playmakers, and Shea's a really solid playmaker, but they not on the level of those two guys I just mentioned. It can be a dangerous game because if he makes that pass to get out of this double team, yes, we were successful at getting the ball out of his hands, but now the Oklahoma City Thunder are playing 4-on-3. But the reason it is different for the San Antonio Spurs is their 4-on-3 is in the literal sense is 4-on-3, but it's not because that big fella on the back end covers so much ground. So how will Shea / the Oklahoma City Thunder adjust to when the San Antonio Spurs start to throw two at him? One thing I remember last year in the postseason when teams threw two at Shea was that they got him off the ball early on, so it ends up being a dub, bringing the ball up the court or a Kaysen or whatever. Now they have A.J. Mitchell, who's blossomed to I won't use the word star, but an amazing ball player in itself, that Shea starts to be used as a secondary option in the sense that he's coming off screens and things like that instead of being the initiator at the top of the key, and that can get him going. But Stephon Castle defended Shea very, very well in the regular season, and I think that's gonna matter. And I wonder how often they throw two at Shea when it is no Wemby on the court. Actually, I don't know how much they're going to mirror the minutes between Wembanyama and Shea, but when there's no Wemby on the court, do they feel as confident throwing two at Shea if it is Luke Cornett, who's a really good rim protector as well, but obviously not on the otherworldly level that is Victor Wembanyama? So that's the first thing I'm looking for. The second thing is the three-point shooting as relief for both of these teams. Like we mentioned, 4-on-3, what does that normally mean? Somebody's going to be open for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I don't remember which game it was. It might have been the Christmas Day game where Caruso shot so many open threes, just hoping and praying to keep them honest, keeping the Spurs honest because they did have Victor Wembanyama just roaming off of him. I think that Stephon Castle is also going to get those exact same looks as you might see a Chet or Ihart be his primary defender. You just saw in game number 6 versus the Minnesota Timberwolves at the end of the series, Chrissy Finch and company decided that we're going to let Rudy Gobert roam off Castle, and Castle hit 5 of 7 threes. And Castle, you got to give you credit to him. Over the entirety of the postseason, he's been electric when it comes to three-point shooting. That wasn't the case in the regular season. So I wonder if the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to bet on the regression from his three-point shooting. I don't know. I think he's like 45% from three. Actually, the whole San Antonio Spurs team has not missed a three-point shot, but I think him specifically is 40. He's 45% from three in the postseason. So I wonder if they bet on the fact that that's fake, and in this series he might struggle. Caruso, Dort, these are guys that are going to get so many open looks, and I don't want to let it boil down to that, but I do think that at the end of the series, when it's whatever team wins in 6 or 7, whatever it may be, that we'll look back on the percentages from three and be like, oh, the team that shot better from three is the team that ended up winning the series, which I would hate if that was just that simple, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. So while I was sticking with Stephon Castle, I'm curious about what his foul trouble will look like. Y'all know him there, or y'all know this postseason. It's been 3 pillars of goddamn get out of foul trouble. Asar Thompson, Jaden McDaniels, and Stephon Castle. All 3 of these dudes are super important to their team success, but they always are in foul trouble, and that's a point to their physicality, and that's a point to sometimes them just doing a little bit extra. So I wonder what the whistle will look like overall for this series, right? Because y'all know OKC has a favorable whistle in a lot of cases from their defensive side of the ball. I wonder if the refs will allow the San Antonio Spurs to play with a similar piece of physicality. Next one is J-Dub's readiness. From all accounts, he will be ready for game 1, which is perfect, but he hasn't played in quite some time. And I do believe if OKC is going to win the series, they may not need 100% J-Dub, but damn it, they need close to it. They need Dub to look like another all-star. They need Dub to look like an all-NBA player, because I'm just super fascinated. Let me see if I could quickly look this up before we go into our break here. Of the lineups offensively, that is Shea, Dub, and A.J. Mitchell. Again, in the postseason, I'm sure these guys have not played because, we got some injuries early on from Dub. They've only played 50 minutes together in the regular season. And actually, it was a net negative of a -6. So maybe that's not something they go to a ton. But I am intrigued with having that many creators on the court with Shea if if the San Antonio Spurs are sending two. Because now if it's a 4-on-3 when it is, A.J. Mitchell or it is J-Dub on these wings trying to create out of that, my goodness, I think that opens up a possibility of a lot of different things, maybe long mid-range pull-ups, which we'll get to, I guess, next.
Hit subscribe for more news, highlights, and analysis from the NBA on NBC.